Hello everyone, this is Shining Noctiles, and tonight I'd like to speak about a very important topic that has resonated with me for a number of years now, or even potentially for a number of eras. I have noticed that people have shared their own experiences with the Morrigan and with the Crow and Raven, and now I believe it's time to share mine. My story is a little bit different than potentially what a lot of other people have experienced. I actually didn't actively seek the Morgan or even knew who she was. She actually sought me out. And the story I'm about to tell is something that I often write in my poems, but I believe actually speaking it out in a conversational manner may bring some more rootedness to the subject. I have gone through a lot of spiritual changes in the last number of years. Spiritual changes that caused me to challenge myself greatly, my knowing of self, my perception of the world, and my relations with others. A lot of deep changes. And I also recognize that darkness, shadow, and night were not the malignant forces I once thought of. I also learned that the Horned One, or Kanunos, the one that has been demonized by the Roman Empire for almost a couple millennia now, was actually a very prominent figure of the Celtic people, and I believe I connect strongly with that Celtic spirit. And it it's a very deep, and I'm gonna see how I can best relate these words. The underworld is quite a transformative area, but it is not the place of damnation that many religions would picture it to be. It is a very healing and transformative area. It's one reason why I connect with Celtic mythology and Wicca, because it shows how life can reemerge and can cleanse itself and can go through a stage of fiery rebirth that can usher in a new beginning. It's why I connect with a fiery raven. As autumn meets its end, so does the fires of rebirth become rekindled. And it's very beautiful. And I know there's not a lot of males that speak of the relationship with the Morgan. It seems that in the magical community, it tends to be that the female practitioners have a bit more courage to speak up of their connection with the Morgan, and it could be because of man's pride and them maybe being a little bit more reserved about it for whatever reason. Um, but I believe it is important to share because magic is for both male, female, masculine, feminine, nonpartisan, any gender orientation. It is very important to break that stigma and to recognize that in our wholest form, at least from what I believe the Morrigan has helped me teach, is embodying your masculine and your feminine and the god and goddess together. And as well as spring and autumn can bring a more whole picture. And I almost feel like I've also helped her as well. I know a lot of people often say their relationship with the Morrigan tends to be one-sided, or I don't want to be rude by saying one-sided, but maybe a better term would say is it's more so her asking people to do her work. But for me, I feel like it's more of a back and forth of a working together every step of the way, working as a team, working as a group, working as a duo, like spring and autumn do. And I'm glad she's been there for me, and I guess she's glad I've been there for her. It's been very mutual, and you know, I greatly appreciate her love and her being there for me in the darkest, deepest moments of my life. Her raven embrace definitely helped me many times, and her heart is very pure. It may be very dark, but it is very pure. And I've learned to see the beauty of the dark, the beauty of night, the beauty of the ravenite sky and the stars, and the beauty of accepting her love, accepting her as part of me, accepting her as that which helps me become whole. And remembering the horned god as well in his truest form, no longer demonized, no longer shackled, no longer an image, a distorted image of the Roman Church, but a wild image of him in his purest form as he has always meant to be, and no longer forgotten. And her remembering him, as well as her remembering me, I believe is something that I greatly appreciate, and I'm glad she helped me start on my journey, helped me start exploring the faith of my people, the faith of or the belief of magic, and just the way to connect back to the earth, to connect back to the rootedness that was there, that it still is there. It never really truly was forgotten. It was buried, it was driven to the underworld, but it was never truly forgotten. It was, and I'm glad that people are speaking up more now, speaking up for their faith, for the belief in magic, and it's really beautiful. And it's something that at least for me, has helped bring a lot of cleansing, a lot of healing, a lot of peace. And even though I am not what you would say extravagant in the magical items I possess, I tend to be a rather simple individual. I don't really have any altars. I don't have any tarot cards. I don't have any spell books. I don't have any pendants. I don't have any, just any of the magical items that would paint someone to be a magical individual. I do have a painting, though, that I bought a few months back, though, of a raven and a snowy owl together in an image in a moonlit sky. The raven, or the owl, was a representation of a Celtic goddess. I'm probably going to butcher her name, but I think it's pronounced Cerduin. I don't know much about her, but I do connect with the owl. More specifically, the great horned owl. Owl to me is a being like the raven of the night sky, or the crow, that can see through much, can see through one's soul, that can see through other realms. It's very beautiful. But seeing so much can also come at a price for some individuals. And I believe crow, or more specifically raven, because I feel like even though crow first came to me, I felt like as time went on, crow evolved into the raven, and I feel like that is more so the more mature evolution of that energy, at least for me. I Raven, or the Morrigan, they hold the key to unlocking knowledge through acceptance, through love, through being with you every step of the way. And it's one reason why I sometimes like going into the forest. I actually live in North Idaho currently, so um, I have the gracious opportunity to go into the forest and to connect with the energy there. I actually went there on Samhain Eve, and I also believe I went there the day after Samhain. And being able to go there and connect with the autumn trees and the leaves, and mainly being there on my own. Of course, I shared my presence with the plants and animals and spirits there, but just being there and connecting with the energy was truly, truly something that I am grateful for. And I I I'm glad that I've been on this journey. It hasn't always been easy, but it's definitely at the end of the day, it's been healing, it's been cleansing, it's it's brought a lot of peace into my life, a lot of healing of the past, a lot of being able to believe in oneself again, and or self-sovereignty could also be another word, but it even goes beyond that. It and I'm glad I fortunately do have some individuals out there, and of course my viewers as well, that have been gracious enough to listen to these words, because even though the Middle Ages is long gone, and even though religious freedom has come into various lands such as the Americas, I have learned that a lot of people still have to break through those walls, through those barriers, um, through the suppression that has been there. But it's slowly breaking away, and it's taken a lot of time, and it's taken a lot of effort and a lot of energy for people, for myself, to have the strength to break through those walls of suppression. But I believe it's something that is important if one wishes to have religious or spiritual freedom. Although I do not identify myself as a Christian, and although I identify myself more as a Wiccan, or as a one who connects more with the land and with my Celtic spirits, I do know that regardless of a person's faith, regardless of their religion, if they mean well, if they mean well at the core, if they fight for what they believe is right as a human being, when all those labels are taken away, when you can see their very essence, their very fighting spirit, and to know that they mean well, and to know that they will speak up, and to know that they fight with all of their heart and spirit, it's something that I can greatly appreciate. And even though some of those people, for example, President Trump, or other individuals out there, but he is one that came up to my mind. Even though there are a lot of people who get upset with some of the things he says, at the end of the day, at his core, at his very essence as a spirit, the fighting spirit that he invokes in others and in himself and the world, to fight against oppression and to fight for freedom and to uphold that Celtic fighting spirit, is something I greatly appreciate. And I think that speaking up is really important. And I think a lot of people have been afraid to speak up, either because they are afraid what their peers may say, or whether they're afraid of losing any sort of financial foothold or societal foothold. A lot of things that people will tend to keep mum about. But I think that speaking up is one thing that the Morrigan wishes for us to do, at least in my own personal experience. I feel like she helps push me in a good way to speak up and to feel my emotions in a raw way, yet be able to work with them constructively. And even when I feel upset or have emotions that are a little bit difficult to work through, she helps me feel them. And by feeling them and by accepting that they are there, but learning how to work with them, I believe has been a positive thing. And I'm glad that even though this path I have been walking may not be a path that many have chosen to walk, I believe that at the end of the day it was the right choice for me, and I'm glad that again I have been given this opportunity. And I've learned magic is more than just the amulets one has, is more than just the spellbooks one has, is more than the altars or any of the physical objects one has. Magic at its purest essence is the spirits, I don't know if transcendence is a proper term, maybe just connectedness, being able to dive into the deepest underworld or darkness or subconscious and being able to find illumination or illuminate or to rekindle the flames of hope and a rebirth. I believe that to me is magic. Or in another way, I play this game called Final Fantasy XIV, and there are a lot of magical words of inspiration that I believe is in that game. There is one fellow Dark Knight in particular, his name, I could be butchering his name, but the way I pronounce it is Sir Durgu. He spoke of a word, or not of a word, but of a saying handed down by his master, of something that I believe is very important. Those words were, at least recalling it from the best way I can recall it, is the greatest strength is the flame born of the abyss. And I believe that love and acceptance has a part in that the flame is reborn once it goes through death, once it goes through autumn, yet still perseveres, still goes onward, still picks itself back up. Kind of like a fiery raven, or for some, a phoenix-like energy. But for me, I believe fiery raven may be a better term. And I think that being able to see much yet still find a reason in living, and being able to let go of the old growth of the past and what no longer serves you, I believe is truly beautiful, and that's why I believe embodying and incorporating both the god and goddess energy together, I believe brings a lot of balance and a lot of strength and brings harmony between spring and autumn. And I guess I say these words as well because my sun sign is actually a Taurus, and Taurus is being on May 15th, that is 15 days after Beltane, and it's the middle of spring, and I actually also connect with autumn, with November 15th, with Samhain, and learning how those two festivals, those two times of the year where the veil is thinnest, where they can work together to form a greater answer, I believe is truly beautiful, and I'm glad that I've had an opportunity for the Morrigan, for the Raven as a representative of Samhain, has been able to work with me, and I guess I've worked with her as well, because some would say Taurus is the representative of Beltane, but my North Node in Scorpio, for those who believe in astrology, I believe, has helped me incorporate the Scorpio that is part of me, the Scorpio that some would call my darkness, but it is something that, when seen in its purest form, is something that brings a lot of healing, a lot of love, a lot of strength, and it's not always easy to open a Taurus up. Of course, it's not always easy to open a Scorpio up either, but especially for Taurus, we can sometimes be quite stubborn. But the Morrigan and the Raven, she's never given up on me, and whether it takes 1,000 knocks on the door, that's a good analogy, is something that shows how love at its purest core never truly stops, and it's something that I'm grateful for, really I am, and it's quite comforting in a way, and it shows that I am not alone on the battlefield. I'm not alone in fighting against a lot of these things, and I'm glad she's been at my side, and she's been a very good metaphysical presence for me, as well as being a part of me, and I'm glad she's still been there. But anyways, I just wanted to share a little bit of this. I don't often go this deep sharing my magical or thoughts of magic of others, but I believe it is important because magic is something that, once you are willing to share it, once you are willing to express it with others, just like with my poetry, I believe it can bring a lot of healing and a lot of renewal and strength, and I hope that it has brought some renewal and has rekindled the flame in you, and I'm glad I was inspired and that the Morrigan helped me share this. And I think I may share more in the future, but at least for the evening, I believe this is something that I am glad I shared, and I hope the viewers out there enjoyed, and I hope you all have a good rest of the evening. Until next time, have a good night.